Hi there. Hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first time joining me for a live video, I'm Kendra Perry. I'm a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and what I do is I help women struggling with chronic fatigue, chronic GI issues, and chronic hormone imbalance recover with functional lab testing so they can feel energized, so they can take back control of their life and basically achieve whatever the fuck they want. So if you want to learn more about me, you can find out about me at kendraperry.net. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that gets me a little bit fired up. So if you guys follow me and you know a little bit about what I do, you know that I'm a big proponent of hair mineral analysis. And I'm a big proponent of testing in general. And the reason is because we are all so uniquely different. And I really don't think we should be doing anything specific to our bodies, especially with supplementation, unless we know the situation, unless we know exactly what is going on, okay? And I think a lot of us, we hear about certain supplements and we're struggling, especially with something like fatigue. Fatigue is something I have a very special relationship with because I have struggled extensively with it. And I know so many women who are also struggling with it. It's probably one of the most common complaints that I get from my clients. So fatigue is huge, right? And I know when you're feeling crappy, when you're feeling fatigued, a lot of us are just desperate, right? So we're searching for anything that we think will help us. And when, you have low energy or a lot of different health problems, ultimately, I think when you're Google searching, you're going to end up learning a little more about B12. So B12 deficiency is actually highly implicated in poor energy issues, iron issues, all kinds of things. So I think a lot of us, we go find B12 or whatever it is that supplement is that we think is going to help us. Excuse me. So B12 is a very common supplement. I see a lot of the clients I start working with are already taking it. And this actually can be a huge mistake, and this is why. Okay, so if you can't absorb or utilize B12 properly, it can actually cause a lot of health issues, and this is why. So B12 is a really, really unique vitamin. So typically we're getting B12 from the bacteria in our diets, from the bacteria in our guts, and it eventually should find its way into the bloodstream and be absorbed in the ileum part of the gut. But what's really, really interesting about B12 is that it contains a mineral in its structure, which is the mineral cobalt, okay? And cobalt is a very interesting mineral because it has that, biological chemical function with B12. They kind of have this intimate relationship. But cobalt can also be toxic in high amounts. So it can be a very toxic metal if you have too much of it. And if you are not absorbing and utilizing B12, then cobalt can actually start to build up in your body and cause all kinds of problems. So typical symptoms of cobalt toxicity are going to be fatigue, nausea, vertigo, tinnitus. You can get eye impairment, anxiety, irritability, and even rashes. So those things can happen if cobalt is building up in your body. And just because you're taking the supplement, just because you're taking B12, even a good form of B12. So a lot of people are taking cyanocobalamin, not a well-absorbed form. It's not doing you any good. You're just wasting your money. If you're taking cyanocobalamin form of B12, stop. It's not doing you any favors. You're wasting your money. But methylcobalamin or hydroxycobalamin, these are typically well-absorbed forms of B12, but if you don't have the right things in place to be able to absorb that B12, it can actually lead to a toxic buildup of cobalt in your body, okay? So for you to be able to absorb B12, you need to have good levels of hydrochloric acid or stomach acid in your stomach. You also need a good amount of what's called intrinsic factor. So intrinsic factor is what you need to pull B12 into the blood so that it can get absorbed in the ileum. If you do not have enough intrinsic factor or you have low HCl, you will not be able to absorb the B12, and you are then taking the supplement that has this mineral in it that can be toxic. And if it's not getting absorbed, broken down, and utilized like it's meant to be, then it actually builds up. Okay? So This is why it may not be good to take B12. And this is something I'm also talking about this from personal experience. So I'm someone who has had a lot of gut issues. My stomach has definitely had issues producing HCl and intrinsic factor. And I've actually seen this buildup of cobalt in my hair happen anytime I take B12 supplements. So before I can even utilize that B12, I need to work on my gut health. I need to improve stomach acid production. I need to improve intrinsic factor. Okay, so this is how you can tell that your B12 is being malabsorbed and possibly leading up to the buildup of cobalt. So the first way is to run a blood test and look for high levels of B12. If you have really high levels of B12 in the blood, it can tell us that your body is actually not absorbing it. It's actually not able to get absorbed into the ileum, okay? I like to look at blood levels of B12 alongside hair mineral analysis because cobalt is one of the minerals that is analyzed on HTMA. And when I see it high, I know that that person is B12 deficient, but also that they are not going to benefit from taking B12. Okay, and cobalt can cause a lot of issues, especially in relation to your energy levels, which is interesting because a big reason why we take B12 is to improve our energy, improve our iron status, to feel more energetic, and actually it could be doing the exact opposite. You do not want to have toxic levels of B12 or of cobalt in your hair. That can be a huge issue, okay? So anything that lowers HCl is going to inhibit intrinsic factor, and that's going to prevent your absorption of B12 and then the subsequent buildup of cobalt in your body, possibly to toxic levels. Other things that can inhibit the absorption of B12 are copper toxicity, really common. I'm seeing this in about 90% of the women I work with. It's crazy common. And so if you have copper toxicity, if you know you have copper issues, B12 is not going to be your friend. That can, again, lead to the buildup of cobalt in your body, okay? Number 2 is lead toxicity, okay? So actually, lead toxicity is incredibly common. We have a lot of metals in our body, but the 3 that everyone has to some degree are aluminum, lead, and mercury, okay? So lead is in that category. A lot of us have some lead in our bodies to some degree. So that can interfere with B12 metabolism, and then you taking B12 supplements, again, are going to lead to the buildup of cobalt. Number 3 is mercury toxicity. So mercury is also in those top 3 metals that we all have to some degree in our body, especially if you have silver or amalgam fillings. Though that can prevent the absorption of B12. So this can actually hurt you, okay? So this is the thing. Anything that can impair intrinsic factor or HCl, any of those things can lead to you malabsorbing B12. Not only naturally, you can't absorb it from your diet, but no amount of supplementation is going to change that. And you actually might just be hurting your health. And I see this a lot because a lot of people take B12 because they think it's going to give them energy. And then when we test their minerals, I see this cobalt through the roof. And I know that that B12 is a waste of their money and it's harming them rather than helping them. Okay. So this is why I'm a big fan of testing. You know, I don't really believe in taking almost any supplements unless we know that we need them, especially vitamins and minerals. The vitamin and mineral system is very dynamic, and you actually can't take a mineral or a vitamin without having an effect on every other mineral in the system, at least indirectly, because they all affect each other. Some are antagonists, so they push each other down or prevent each other's absorption. Some are synergists, so they enhance the absorption of the other. And then when you kind of connect them all together, they are all basically connected in one way, either directly or indirectly. So I don't really think we should be taking vitamins or minerals without knowing our status. And I don't believe we should be using blood testing by itself to determine this. So some minerals are intracellular, meaning that they don't exist outside the cell in large quantities, magnesium and potassium. A lot of people use RGB blood levels for magnesium, and only 1% of magnesium is in the blood. So we can't use blood to test magnesium or potassium, right? It's really bad for testing most vitamins and minerals because the blood is our transport system. It's the way that our whole body is nourished. Small fluctuations in the blood will kill you. Okay, so the body will sacrifice minerals and vitamins everywhere else in the body just to keep your blood stable. So we're not going to see issues there until things are really far gone, until things have been depleted over decades, right? So we don't want to do that. This is why I love hair mineral analysis. Not only will it tell me about minerals, but it's going to tell me about a lot of your vitamins, especially in regards to B12. Okay, so for me, while I'm building my gut, while I'm building my intrinsic factor, B12 supplementation, not good for me. As soon as I take it, I see my cobalt go high on a hair mineral analysis. And I actually did this to myself accidentally. I was taking some melatonin to help me sleep, and what I didn't notice is that it had some B12 in the melatonin formula. So on my last hair mineral analysis, I was like, wow, my cobalt is just through the roof. What is up? So I started looking through all my supplements and I found the B12. So you can tell that way. A really great test, but I really encourage you, like, don't waste your money taking vitamins or minerals unless you know your vitamin or mineral status, because you have no idea what you're doing to your body when you don't know where your vitamins and minerals are at. Okay. Alicia asked, should I keep taking B12 with folic acid or stop? So we're working together. We're running hair mineral analysis. So I'm going to be able to tell you that based on your test results, which I'm hoping we're going to get back soon. Unless you know that you need it, I don't recommend taking it. That's kind of how I roll. I don't really think we should be taking things blindly. Also, folic acid is a really poorly absorbed form of folate. So you'd want to be taking tetrahydromethylfolate and not folic acid. Pretty poorly absorbed. And if any doctor told you to take folic acid, they have not been keeping up to date on their research. They are back in the 90s, and you should probably either ignore them with their folic acid recommendations or get another doctor. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I love Alicia because she's working with me. So we're testing, we're looking at her gut, we're looking at metals, we're looking at all these things. And we are looking at minerals. So with that B12 supplement, I'll be able to tell her if it's even worth her time. So if you guys are interested in running hair mineral analysis with me, this is kind of one of the intro labs that I like to run. I will run it with every single person I work with because it is incredibly powerful. You will be completely blown away by the amount of information that you can get from this type of panel. It goes so deep, it's crazy. You can go down so many rabbit holes, and I love rabbit holes. But basically, we can look at your nervous system. We can look at your thyroid health, adrenal health, hormone health, mood health. We can look at... the naturopath recommended it. Yeah, exactly. You want to know what's going on, right? Yeah, and if you're interested, you can shoot me an email, support@kendraperry.net, or you can actually just send me a Facebook message just on my page. I will respond to you. I monitor those pretty regularly, but really, really powerful test. It'll also tell us about infections. It'll tell us about your mineral balance, magnesium, calcium, sodium, potassium, these amazing minerals. Like, minerals are life. And I know that sounds crazy, but they are the spark plugs of the body. Your body will not function without them. So we all need them. We all need to work on balancing our mineral system. I test my minerals every 3 to 4 months. I check in. I want to know what's up, and I make adjustments necessary. And what I can tell you is I've never felt so good in my entire life. And I'm not exaggerating. And I'm someone who has struggled so much with my health. You guys have probably seen my posts that I've had so many rough times. Fatigue has been a huge problem for me. And honestly, my energy levels have been better than they ever been. So it is powerful. It's a small investment that can make a huge difference in your health, in your life. I think fatigue is the primary reason why we don't accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish, right? When we're fatigued, nothing is easy. We don't get out there with friends. We don't get outdoors. We don't succeed at work. It's holding all of us back. And this is probably one of the top ways you can start addressing that. So email my team, support@kendraperry.net, or just shoot me a Facebook message through my page. I'm happy to help. I'm happy to chat with you. I'm even happy to hop on a free call and just discuss the approach and what it will kind of look like. I love talking about it. So just get in contact with me. And if you like this video, give me a like. If you have questions, even if you're not with me live today, I always come back and look at the comments, read them, and answer your questions. Okay. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I hope you have lots of sunshine wherever you are, and I will speak with you all next week.